You can do this. You're going to make this call. You're going to call them. And I literally was like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, call. Do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how'd it go?
And I called. It was great.
Oh,
he was
so all of those hallucinations that you were having before the call didn't happen?
Didn't happen. All lies. Just lies.
Yeah. Well, listen, we tell ourselves a lot of things, you know what I mean? And sometimes you do have those conversations. Sometimes people aren't great, but you don't know until you take that action and you actually get on the phone with them, and then you kind of realize, and you know people's personality types. You know if people are gonna want to be a go-giver and want to help other people out, or if they're just kind of like standoffish and maybe it's just not the right time, or maybe they're just not the right person. But you were brave. You swallowed all those fears, you made the call, and it ended up going great. There are 3 ways to get real estate deals at a discount, okay? The first way is through marketing, right? This is how you get your leads. You pay money and people call you. The second way is to prospect, right? This is where you're going to go and you're going to get on the phones and you're going to go with a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and you're going to call people that own these properties that are in distress and find opportunities. And the third way is to get referrals from people that know, like, and trust you. And that third way is where we're going to really deep dive into this unbelievable podcast today, because imagine this. Imagine you go to the skating rink every single week and you're skating around with your friends and you're talking about what you're doing. And during the breaks, they mention to you that there's an ugly property in their complex, or somebody's going through a distressed situation. That's exactly what happened to this incredible wholesaler out of Columbus, Ohio. It is my absolute pleasure to bring on one of my favorite people on planet Earth, Stephanie Hunt, to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. Stephanie, say hello to everybody.
Yes. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you.
Listen, we are going to blow you away with energy and enthusiasm on this podcast. That is it. Well, Stephanie, I am so excited. This is long overdue, but it's the truth. I mean, you go roller skating every week, and listen, you never know where the referrals are gonna come from. That's why you can't be hidden, right? You can't be secretive about this business. You got to go out there and you need to get loud and let people know that you can be of service to the people that have these rundown houses or vacant houses or going through foreclosure, whatever else. So when did you start getting loud in your business with the people that you know and socialize with?
So really, I started really getting loud when I joined TTP. Before, not so much. But I did get my first deal at the skating rink, and that was just really just in communication, just because I like people. I do like to talk, and people like to share things. So that's how it first began. But like really, really getting loud is when definitely joining TTP for real. Like, you need to let everyone know what you're doing. Everyone.
Well, and you got really uncomfortable. We did a 75-day challenge, and you literally made a video and posted videos to social media and YouTube every single day of the ups, the downs. I mean, there were some in there where you had so much joy and excitement, and then there was some where you were crying and frustrated, and you showed all of this, and that's just to the general world. But I feel like you have like everybody that you know knows what you're up to, knows what you're looking for, knows what you're excited about. How did you get past that? How did you get past from kind of like being a little bit quieter to getting louder? And was that difficult?
So one thing I have realized about life in general, that there are 2 things that if you want to progress and want to do well and be fulfilled, right, is that you must do the things that you're afraid of and do the things that you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And I was afraid of it. So immediately I was like, well, that means you need to do it. And I didn't want to do it because I was afraid of it. And that means you really got to do it. So that's what it was.
Yeah, and listen, so just to give a little background here on Stephanie. Stephanie graduated from the Ohio State University, was, I mean, you had your sights set on corporate America. You were doing it. You got your what was it, a financial planning degree, and then walk us through what happened after that and what your life's been like, and a little bit. Give us some texture to your life here.
Yeah, so I had a degree, and I started working at Walmart here in Columbus. They had this separate new facility that they built, and it wasn't like a store. And I was hired as their accountant. So I was just progressing in and just doing things, and I was having children. So I have three sons. So my first son was already born and good to go, and so then I had twins, and I just really felt that God was saying, "Hey, you need to stay home with them." And I was like, "Oh no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to stay home. That's too much work. I know that's way more work than being here."
Yep.
But that little, voice just would not let go. So finally, I did. I came home, and it was like the best thing ever. It was fantastic. So as I was staying home with them, I ended up homeschooling them also, which that was a whole nother transition in my life. I never would have thought that. I thought homeschooling was the most stupid thing you could ever do to your children. It's not. It was
Yeah.
great. And then my dad, while I was in the process of going to start homeschooling them, I was over his house, and he said, "Hey, you should read this book." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I was pretty much a reader. And then I said, "Have you read it?" And he was like, "No, I haven't read it." He said, "But you should read it." And it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I read that book. That was in 2012. So that corporate American mindset, because I was just waiting to get back into corporate America. I was just waiting to say, "Okay, hey, you're old enough. Your kids go, children, because mom's going back to work.
Yeah.
I want to wear heels, and I want to look good every day and strut my stuff." Right? That's just
Sure.
that was my mindset. Right? So I read that, and it just clicked. It
Hmm.
changed, and there it is. From that time on, I knew that when my time came, I was going to do wholesaling. I was going to go into real estate.
Yeah, and did you start? I mean, did you go down and really pull on that thread and start like getting more books or listening to more? I
I
mean,
did.
podcasts really weren't even a thing in 2012, so it
No,
was just like books. So
not at all. So I read a book. I read that book, and then, of course, as things go, so happened the Rich Dad Poor Dad, you know, seminars were coming to Columbus.
sure.
So just as that, and so I went to the seminar, did that a couple of times, did the upsell, went to the next thing, and actually started trying. I actually had talked to a distressed property owner, and she had several, and she had wanted to sell. So I got her under agreement, and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I freaked out, and I called her. I was like, "I got to cancel." She was so mad. Oh, she was mad, and I was like, "I can't. I don't know. I don't know what to do." So at that time, then it was time for me to start homeschooling. So, but it was still always just there in the back of my mind. And then when the time came with the younger ones, went off to when they were in their senior year, and everybody was kind of stable and just really progressing and like good. I began.
I love it. And you had twins. I mean, your youngest were twins.
Yep.
I mean, that's a whole bunch of, I mean, that takes up a lot of time and attention. And we talk about that, right? We talk about time management. No, it's not that. It's priority management. No, it's not that. It's energy management. No, it's not that. It's attention management. Where are you putting your
Yeah.
attention every single day? And you've got these two beautiful little boys that are, running around. You're homeschooling them. You're literally putting in you're teaching them everything, reading, writing, math, the whole stuff, all the way up to what, eighth grade, right?
Yep.
All the way up to
Exactly.
eighth grade, and then you're doing that, and you're still having that mentality of, I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to be just working for somebody for forever and having them have all the control. And so, how do you make that transition? So now the kids are out of the nest, so to speak. And then what?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, I guess it's time. I got time now. I got attention
Yeah.
now. Like, where do I
That's
pour
right.
this into? What'd you do first?
So I started listening to podcasts, went on to YouTube, And I found Max Maxwell first,
Sure.
then Wholesaling Inc. and just general Wholesaling Inc. And then I found Brent Daniels. So, and that I knew. I was like, Brent Daniels, that's the one because he gives instruction.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's telling me exactly what to do. So just listen to Brent Daniels and do it. So that's just what I did. I just started listening and I just started doing it. And I drove around for dollars. I didn't even know about Deal Machine. It was around, but I didn't know anything about it
Yep.
at the time. And so I had that pamphlet, writing stuff down, going to the auditor's website. I used white pages back then, skip traced, and went to real estate meetups, started doing that. And I met my first mentor talking to someone at a restaurant.
How did that work out?
Yeah,
Tell us about
it
that.
worked out great. Yeah, so I was at a restaurant, and this gentleman was sitting a table across from me, and I don't know, the quarters were kind of small, so I don't want it to like it was like weird and awkward, like hey, but and he had this shirt on. It said Thrive. I said, so tell me. I said, what does that mean? And he's like, oh, I work with this company, and they come in and help other companies give more to the community. They structure that to give more, and so he was kind of going to that. And he was really excited, very passionate about it, and he was like, well, what do you do? And I said, I'm learning how to wholesale. That's what I'm doing. He said, oh, you need to call this person. He gave me their number right away, and then I went home and called them.
And so you didn't have any hesitation there. You just called this
Oh
person
yeah,
up and
oh yeah,
they were
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Oh, for sure. Good
Like,
question.
let's
Oh
talk about
yes.
the mental game here, Stephanie, because
Okay, yeah,
you've really been on both sides of it, right? You've had some
absolutely.
deals that you had locked up that didn't go through that were like really devastating to you because you really listen, you want to be successful and that's a driving force, but you also want to be of service to the community
Correct.
and be able to close on these deals so that you're actually helping people out of their situation, right? So
Right.
let's talk about the realness of this business,
Yeah.
the ups and
So
downs of it.
the truth. So the conversation in the restaurant was very easy for me, but me picking up the phone and calling this gentleman, that was hard. I literally walked up and down my street like 4 or 5 times and said, "You're going to do this.
Why? What were
Just
you What
call."
were you nervous about?
I was afraid. I mean, I knew that for one, there's that fear of, well, he has a lot of money. You don't have no money. He's better than you. So that was a fear.
Sure.
And well, he's gonna like, what you're calling me for? The rejection is a fear.
Yep.
The you're dumb is a fear. Like, you're just what's wrong with you? Oh, here's another one. You're just too old for this. You're too late into the game. Just forget that.
Sure.
Right. So those definitely, and I remember it was a nice day, and I just kept walking up and down. I was like, you can do this. You're gonna make this call. You're gonna call them, and I literally was like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, call, do it.
Yep.
Yeah,
And how'd it go?
and I called.
Did
It was great.
Oh,
He was
so
fantastic.
all of those hallucinations that you were having
Lies
before the call didn't happen?
didn't happen. All lies, just lies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Hmm.
listen, we tell ourselves a lot of things. You know what I mean? And sometimes you do have those conversations. Sometimes people aren't great. But
Yeah.
you don't know until you take that action and you actually get on the phone with them and then you kind of realize and you know people's personality types. You know if people are gonna, want to be a go-giver and want to help other people out, or if they're just kind of like standoffish and maybe it's just not the right time or maybe they're just not the right person. But
Yeah.
you were brave. You swallowed
Yeah.
all those fears. You made the call, and it ended up going great.
Yeah.
What'd you learn from this mentor?
So I learned how to approach sellers or potential sellers on the phone. So he would actually take time and role play with me. He was like, okay, so here it is. This is ring, 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 ring. And hello, you don't know me. My name is Stephanie Hunt, and I'm calling about your property on such and such and such street. So he kind of helped me with that, and he just kept practicing. He was like, okay, come on, you gotta get good. You gotta get better at it. And sure enough, I mean, it worked.
Let me ask you this. When you were starting out, was it easier in your mind? was it easier calling the people that owned these properties that were in rough shape or rough situations, or was it harder calling the person that you thought had a bunch of money and wouldn't give you the time of day?
The money,
Right. And why,
the
where does that
money.
come from?
Person.
Where does that come from?
So it comes from the the belief that people with money are evil.
Right.
That's where it comes from.
Sure.
That they're
That they're
evil.
mean,
Yep.
right? They're
That they're
selfish,
mean.
right?
Mhm.
They're not going to give you
Exactly.
the time of day, right?
Exactly.
Where
And
does
it's
that
so
where
not true.
did that come from? Is that something that you've experienced? I mean, did you have a bad experience with somebody that was
No,
wealthy, or
I
is it just
did. I did. So I grew up in a home where it was a very simple 3 bedroom, 2 bath home. And I mean, the neighborhood was, I mean, it's kind of a little sketchy, Brent, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But, and then we left that neighborhood and I was like 17. And we moved into this big new built house and it was just so fantastic. And it was an awful experience for me. Like my parents kind of changed their dynamic and their thinking. And I don't know if it's maybe money just got too tight for them. Maybe they just couldn't do it. But it just was not friendly and great and homey like it was when with the house that I grew up in.
sure.
So I had that. And so then of course, movies influence you.
Yep.
Most
Big
movies are
time.
always telling you that rich people are evil
Yep.
almost all the time. So yes, so that was definitely a fear for that. But I'm gonna tell you what happened for me that also helped to transform my mind is I did this random part-time job that just laid in my lap and it was just like perfect for my situation. And it was like catering for a 5-star restaurant, right? And they just like, hey, just come be a server. And you can pick what shift you wanted. You could just pick what event you wanted to serve in. And the first one I did, they turned an airport hangar into a beautiful ballroom. And it was gorgeous, like plush carpet. I mean, all this stuff. And I got there and I ended up serving like this man, these people. I mean, they were wealthy. I mean, like there were people from the president of Israel was there, the former president of Israel was there. I mean, it was just incredible.
Yeah.
And that job opened my eyes. I realized the people who were sitting closest to the front, they were the most nice. They always asked, well, what's your name? And they remembered it. They always were just, and that helped that transformation to help. But it was still a hard thing to call, even the wealthier people.
I love it.
It was.
It's my aunt put a great perspective in my mind. She's catered for years and years and years and years, and all the fanciest parties and corporate events and everything. And she made a point that said the people that are climbing are a lot meaner than the people that are already there. You know what
That's
I mean?
right.
And I thought that was a really interesting perspective, and not just from a perspective of like, okay, be nice when you get to a certain level of success or a certain level of
Mhm.
respect or whatever it is, but like
Right.
be nice on the way up too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
Like
Yeah,
like
that
it's
was
not hard
great.
to do, and I think that that's really important.
Yeah, it is.
So I love it. So, okay, good. Well, you crushed all that. You made the call. You talked to the mentor. He's doing great. Or she. Is it a guy or gal?
It was a male.
Okay.
Yep, it was a
And
guy.
so he's helping you out, role playing. You're building the skills. You're feeling more confident. You're going out there. You have no problem talking to the property owners, which I always find is a lot easier. A lot of people have a bigger problems when they're approaching cash buyers than they
Hmm.
do with the properties that they get from driving for dollars and the
Yeah,
properties that are vacant and all these other things, right? Or pre foreclosures. That they have no problem reaching out to those people and helping them out, but going to the people that quote unquote are so wealthy that they could buy these properties cash, which they can't. Most of the time, cash buyers are just people that get hard money loans and have been
exactly.
doing it, a little bit, have some savings, do some hard money loans. But it's an interesting change, right? It's an interesting change. And once you realize that like we're all humans, we all have a certain time on this planet and everybody
We
can
all
be
have
kind.
things.
It's amazing.
Everybody wants to be liked. That's the other thing too. I don't care who you are. Everybody wants to be liked.
That's right.
Everybody. Yeah.
That's right. So you go out there and you start talking to everybody and letting people know and getting some wind behind your back with this mentor. And then you come into my world and we're going and we're pushing hard. And I remember as soon as you came in, you were like, go, 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 go. Check out this deal and check out this deal. And is this a deal and this and this? And we had a lot of fun and you locked up some deals and got them through. But let's break down the roller skating deal. Okay?
Okay.
Let's break down
Okay.
this referral that you got because I think it's amazing, and you did a great job documenting this, guys. If you want to check it out, Stephanie, let them know what your YouTube channel is.
Stephanie Hunt. Stephanie Hunt. That's it. Stephanie Hunt 3, I think. Yeah.
Just put Stephanie Hunt
That's
Real Estate, and you'll find Stephanie. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll find me. I'm sorry.
Yep.
That's terrible. I should know that. Okay. Yeah, so I go skating every week, and I began since with TTP, starting to let people know exactly what I do. So when people say, "What's going on?" I know happened with your boys, and I'm like, "Yeah, well, what are you doing now?" They're all grown. I'm like, well, I'm learning how to wholesale homes, or now I just say I wholesale homes. Well, what does that mean? They don't know, right?
Right.
What does that mean? What does that mean? So I tell them, and then so this young girl who is like so close to me now, like we're just, she's just so dear to me. She's like my daughter. But anyways, so she comes to me and she was like, you know, Miss Stephanie, I think that I got this property over here, and this lady has passed away. She gave the property to her niece. The niece doesn't live here. They live in Michigan. And, I've been circling that property. She's like, I walk my dog all the time, and I just keep going by that property, going by that property. And so then one day she called and she said, I think somebody's in there. I think they're there. And I said, knock on the door. Go knock on the door and find out right now. Go do that. And she's like, really? I said, yes, go do it. So she did. And the lady was there and she called me. She's like, she's here and they're definitely interested in selling the property. I said, okay, I'm on my way. So I went over there right away. It was, whew, it was bad. It was really,
What do
really
you
bad.
mean? Describe it. I want to know what
Bad.
bad means.
So it wasn't that it was so junky or anything. I mean, that it was, but she had cats and it smelled like pee. There were fleas all over the place. She had these two little beautiful, cute little kids, and she was making them food, and they were sitting down on the floor with the cat pee and fleas. And you could just, it was just, it was so bad.
Mm-hmm.
But we were gracious, we were kind, we loved on them, and gave them some options. Like you got permission to take pictures of the property, and sure enough, I was like, well, we got to lock them up. So we went ahead and put together the
Was the
purchase
person
agreement.
there with the kids the owner? The
Yes.
out of state owner? Were they just in town for a little
Correct.
bit? Did they move? Like
Exactly. Down for 1 week.
they were in there for 1 week.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yep, she was in town for 1 week. And I later found out that the reason why, so she would leave the cats there when she would go out of town, and they would just be in the house, just obviously running the house. They were ruling the place.
Yeah.
So that's why it was so bad, because they would just be there by themselves. And so she was just there for 1 week, and so Tamia, that's who was the referral. So I was telling her what to do, and so we went back, we talked to her, got the purchase agreement done, and
She
I
wanted
got
to
some
sell
advice. Oh yeah, she definitely wanted to sell it.
Just what was the motivation?
Well, she lived in another state,
Right.
and she was just here, and it was a burden to it. And you know what? This is big. This is huge. How am I forgetting this? Is that it was going into foreclosure. It had
Oh. Yeah.
yeah, it was going into foreclosure. So the aunt, I guess, had taken out another loan on it, or I think maybe the daughter, I think maybe the niece did, honestly,
Got it.
and they weren't making payment on it, and so it was going into foreclosure. So that was the other thing too, and then they weren't taking care of it. I mean, she was living in Michigan, and they weren't taking care of it at all. So yeah,
And what did you start negotiating? Did she give you a
hmm
price first that they want that she wanted for it, or did you have to
yeah.
like throw out something first? How did that go?
So she wanted 75 at first, and the ARVs in that area at the time, which it's a lot different now, was going for about 140
What's ARV stand for?
after repair value.
So when it's looking good.
So when it's looking great,
When
when it's at its best, when it's
it
pristine.
goes 140, looking great. Do you remember about how big the property was?
I don't. So because it was like a townhouse.
Right.
I had a basement. It was 2 bedrooms, 1.5 bath.
Maybe 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
I mean, would
Yeah.
probably
I
need
would give it
like
5,000.
40 grand in work.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you got
Yeah.
140. It's worth 140. It needs 40K worth of work. They want 75. It's a really tight
Right.
deal at that point, right?
It's very tight. Right. So she introduces me and says, "Hey, she's going to help me buy this property," because she had already, to me, I had already made relationship with them. So I started to talk to the owner and her husband. So the husband was very protective of his wife. So after he was introduced into the scenario, I didn't talk to the wife anymore at all. It was just him.
That happens a lot. Either way,
Okay.
it doesn't matter if it's the husband or the wife, vice versa. Usually there's somebody that's running the show, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I completely understand that. I get that. So he was like, "Well, we can go down to 70." He said 65. So he put out there 65.
Okay.
And I ended up talking to one of the cash buyers that I work with here. And he just kind of like gives me good advice. And he doesn't buy everything that I put out, but he will, come and say, "Okay, this is how I would do this. This is what I would do." So he said, "Just go ahead and put it out for 70,000 to your buyers. Even though it's going to be 65, you're locking up at 65. And just see if your buyers will buy it. Just see what will happen at that." So we did. And then when time went on, we had to go back into the property and pull all that stuff out. We could see that the walls all the way up to maybe your knee or shin was like cat pee. You could just see it
Yep.
all over. So I went back to them and I said, "Listen, I may not be the right buyer for you." I said, "Because I needed to come down a lot lower, you know." And he was like, "Well, what do you mean? What are you saying?" I said, "We need it at about 40,000."
Mm-hmm.
So I ain't gonna real. I learned that from Ryan, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Ryan, my acquisition manager. Yeah.
exactly, yes, very good, Ryan. Yes, Lord, from him. And so I went really, really low, knowing that I really wanted it about 55. So he was like, "Oh, I can't do that and he would not tell us how much was on the mortgage
Mm-hmm.
at all." And I knew an idea from looking at batch leads what it was, but I wasn't really quite sure. He wouldn't give us the payoff. So he kept that, under his sleeve. He wouldn't say. And then we landed on the 55. So, and that's how we got the final.
So
Yeah.
you locked it up at 55. You put it out to your cash buyers. Was it the cash buyer that you talked to, or did you sell it to somebody else?
No, somebody else, completely different.
And what'd you sell it for?
So we sold it for 70. We sold it for the 70.
55,000. Sold it for 70,000. Made 15,000.
Correct. That's
Come
it. That's it.
on.
That's it. Yeah. Ring that bell. Ring that bell.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Look at that. From a conversation at a rolling rink.
Catering.
Roller skating rink. That's incredible.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's just, listen, if you really love this business, if you really want to grow something that is a strong, powerful real estate business, you need to let people know what you do. And Stephanie, you're a great example of it. You don't have a huge background in this. You haven't been doing it for 100 years. You haven't been a realtor for forever. You haven't been, you know what I mean? Like, you're just going out there and talking to the people that you know and like and love and trust, and they want to help you out. They want to they want to send you referrals because they know that you're going to take care of the people that you refer to them, and you can walk them through and help them if they want to get into this business as well. It's just wonderful. I love it.
It is. And it felt so good to help the people and wipe away that debt for them. And then
Yep.
also for Tamia, who was like, now I can like take off work and be at home and
Yeah.
like true because she's an entrepreneur herself and in a different way she has her own business, but she was like, now I can really like do that. I have this lump sum and I can sit and just be with my child
And you
for a
split it
few
with her.
months. Yeah, exactly.
50-50.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Fantastic. That's got to feel
It
just amazing. I mean, just
was great.
absolutely incredible. And it just keeps the momentum going, right? And now
Yes.
she knows till the end of days that when she finds a property that is in rough shape and needs somebody to go in and put significant investment, she's bringing it to you.
That's yeah, exactly. She's gonna bring it to me.
That's it. That is
Yeah.
incredible. Well, Stephanie, what a great story. I mean, it's fantastic. Especially, listen, if they live out of town and they inherited it and they pulled out some money from it, they've already gotten paid on it. They want to get rid of it. They want to, that they're not gonna put money into this property to make it look perfect and sell it. And listen, the fact is, when people inherit properties, 75% of them sell that property within 90 days of new ownership. So one,
True.
it's a phenomenal list to go after. A phenomenal segment of the market to go after is people that are either in probate or inherited. Right, they inherit this property because that they're probably not going to keep it, and typically the family isn't going to sink significant investment into these properties because they're dated and old and oftentimes need significant investment to get top dollar for them. So
Right.
I love it. I mean, so many lessons in that story.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It
So
was
speak now to everybody and give them words of wisdom. As they're getting started, how do they keep their mindset strong?
oh, that's such a good question. So I would definitely say reading is so important. Listening to podcasts, being around good, great people, being around people who, if you say, hey, listen, the sky is going to turn blood orange tomorrow, they're going to say, I believe you. I support you.
Yep,
That's who you need to be around. That's what counts. And also, and I'm going to say this too, definitely read Rich Dad Poor Dad if that mindset is not there as far as being an entrepreneur.
yeah,
And also read The Go Giver. I've been reading The Go Giver every week. I heard what you said. I
yep.
listened to you, and it definitely has changed my perspective to serve, to love, and care for.
I love it. And is that what you do? I mean, do you tap into those things when there is, negative emotions, when there is fear, when there is rejection, when there is the disappointment? What do you tap into during those times?
Yeah, so those are the things that my purpose is to love, care for, and serve. And I say that all the time. What is your intention today? Your intention is to give love, joy, and to serve those who suffer from distress.
That's it.
That's your that's it.
And care for them. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I love
And
it.
care for them.
Stephanie, thank you so much. How can people get a hold of you? Obviously, guys, check out Stephanie's YouTube channel at Stephanie Hunt Real Estate on YouTube, but also how can people reach out if they want to connect with you?
So I'm also on Facebook. Same things, just Stephanie Hunt. My picture is on there, so you should better find me. And and I in my email, Stephanie Hunt 3, the number 3, as in for 3 children, 3 boys.
Hey, boys.
Yep, at gmail.com.
I love it. Stephanie, thank you so much for being on here. You're an
Thank you,
absolute
Brent.
one. Having you in the community in our Wholesaling Inc. Rhino Tribe community has been absolutely phenomenal, and so many people have gotten incredible support and love from you. So thank you so much for that, and thank you for sharing your story. It's been absolutely
Yeah.
incredible to one get to know you, but really understand, the journey that you've been on, and it's incredible. So thank you.
And same to you, Brent. Listen, thank you for giving instruction. Thank you for just laying it out. And for all those people who are like wondering and deciding, they're teetering. Listen, I mean, like, really, really, you can do a deal without joining the program. You really can. Like, he lays everything out. But if you want it in like a succinct good and have the support and be with people who are doing it all day, every day, then do it. Join it. It's worth it.
That's it.
It's incredible.
That's it. Wholesalinginc.com. Check it out, guys. Wholesalinginc.com. Check out what it's all about if you are interested in joining the most proactive community in real estate investing. And it feels good in your gut when you check it out. Sign up for a call and get into the Rhino Tribe. So that is it. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for being on here. And thank you all. It is an honor to speak on this podcast and for you guys to listen and to go out and take action. So I encourage you all to go out there and talk to people. I love you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.